Welcome back. You're still watching the SABC News channel. Zimbabwe Police today arrested a number of bishops and church members in Harare after banning a Zimbabwe We Want Campaign prayer meeting. Now, the police prevented the church-initiated prayer meeting, blocking all venues and been blockaded to the initiative. Well, the organizers say that citizens' freedoms are under attack, with even church programs being banned. Amongst the 35 taken into custody was Bishop Magaya of the Zimbabwe Divine Ministries, who lamented, "I was arrested just for praying for my country." Well, to tell us a little bit more about the day's events and the general situation in the country, we're now joined by the Chairperson of the Crisis and Zimbabwe Coalition, Peter Mutasa. Thanks so much indeed for joining us. What more can you tell us about what happened today? It sounds unusual that a prayer meeting would be stopped.
Yeah, I think Bishop Anselm Magaya summed it up. And it shows how absurd this thing is and how sad it is that in an independent Zimbabwe, the regime or the government arrests people for praying. And Bishop Magaya says there, I was arrested for praying for my country. We can't understand. Up to now, we can't understand. We don't think even the most brutal regimes will arrest people for a prayer session. So it simply shows that we are in trouble. I think from my view, we took a wrong turn, a very wrong turn in 2017 November, when we allowed the military to take over. So what we are seeing is that Zimbabwe is now under a military rule. We are now de facto under a military state. The constitution has now been suspended. If you look at what has happened today, the right to freedom of association is no longer there. Freedom of expression is no longer there. Freedom of movement. Some people were arrested, I'm told, because they were just passing through the church premises. Yeah. And more fundamentally, we now lost the right to religion. And that is telling.
The authorities are saying, though, that this wasn't a prayer meeting, it was a political meeting.
What is political? What is politics? If politics is who gets what, when, and how can any sector of the society be removed from political thought, from political organizing, or from political action? At that level, they can't argue that. Yeah. But these are bishops, these are reverends, these are church leaders, and they had told everyone about their agenda. They published the flyers. They told everyone, we want to pray about the Zimbabwe we want. They also set their objectives clear. They said they want to talk about the Zimbabwe we want. So they invited everyone, including those who were in government. They said they want to talk about a Zimbabwe that is that does not have corruption, a Zimbabwe that is just, a Zimbabwe that is democratic and prosperous. Which government does not want a Zimbabwe that is just, that is against corruption, that is prosperous, and a Zimbabwe that we all want?
The president will say, hang on, I've set up Pollard, this dialogue of political actors, so that we can sit, discuss, but not everybody's coming to the table.
Yeah, but Zimbabwe is a constitutional democracy. At least that's what we agreed in the 2013 constitution. And the country should not be run by the president's views, by the president's feelings or emotions. The country must be run by the constitution, because the constitution's preamble says, we, the people of Zimbabwe. Firstly, Pollard is not a constitutional process. It is not anywhere in the legislative framework of Zimbabwe. You can't find it anywhere in the legislative framework. On its own, it's a platform that is illegal in our view. They are using the state resources without any justification from the constitution, without any justification from any other piece of law. So from that point, Pollard is unconstitutional. But look at it, we are in a plural society. If people do not want Pollard, why shouldn't they be allowed to gather and discuss about their country in another platform? But again, if you look at Pollard, it is a political actors dialogue platform. So it excludes trade unions, it excludes students, it excludes women's organizations. It's not inclusive, even if it was going to be accepted as legitimate. But above all, we know it's not legitimate. It's a brotherhood a formation of people who have the similar objective. It is in Poland you find ZANU-PF and its puppets, unfortunately.
Yeah. Let's talk a little bit about other issues. The economy, for example. I mean, that's been challenged for some time, even before COVID-19. There are others that will suggest that all of Zimbabwe's woes can be pinned on one word, and that's sanctions. What's your take as we see triple-digit inflation that's soaring and people struggling generally?
So the Zimbabwean problem is well known. We have been in this precarious position for over 3 decades now. In fact, we never had a proper formation of the state or nationhood at independence. That's why we had Kukurawundi. That's why we had the repressions and oppression against any dissenting voice since independence. But the Zimbabwean crisis is a crisis of governance. What we are simply seeing, it is just manifesting at 3 levels. State-society relations, where we see the repressions, these arrests, and the shrinking democratic space, abductions, and persecution in lawfare. It is also manifesting at economic level, the economic relations and livelihoods, where the economy itself has been captured by a few, the ruling elites and their cronies. They are getting everything in the banking sector, getting everything in petroleum, getting everything in mining. So the economy has been designed now to work for a very few people, very few families, and everyone else has been pushed into the hustler's economy, where you need to survive on your own. But it is also manifesting at public service provision. So public service has been destroyed. You go to the hospital, you can't get any medication, you can't get any equipment, you can't get any theaters, sufficient theaters. You go to the schools, it's the same. So there is a total breakdown. Zimbabwe is failing if it is not yet a failed state. So they can talk about finding blame elsewhere outside. If there are sanctions as they are there, but which organization, even a company, a small company, a big company that does not have external challenges, but it needs leadership. People have to sit down and address the challenges that we are creating for ourselves. The greatest sanction in Zimbabwe is corruption. The greatest sanction in Zimbabwe is dictatorship. We are not harvesting enough ideas, different ideas that can push our country forward. That is the greatest sanction. So with or without the sanction, if we are to address our own internal challenges, the issues of governance, we will be able to even prosper more than any other country in the region.
All right. At the beginning, you talked about diminishing freedoms in terms of expression. You have a trade union background, and in fact, you were recognized this year for trade union activity during challenging times. Tell us a little bit about how difficult it is to strike, to march, to express yourself in Zimbabwe.
So what we are witnessing under the military regime that we are currently in, and what we have been witnessing around the consolidation of authoritarian rule in Zimbabwe for a long time, is no sector is spared. If you look currently, the CSOs are grappling with the PVO bill. If you look, the labor amendment bill is seeking to curtail various freedoms and also to give unfettered powers to the Registrar of Labor, to the Minister of Labor, to interfere with trade unions. If you go to churches, they've got their own challenges. Students, they've got their own challenges. So it is quite very difficult to operate in Zimbabwe, where all freedoms have been curtailed. So you can't express yourself as a trade unionist, but things are very terrible. The situation on the ground is tight for workers. Workers in Zimbabwe are just in modern day slavery. They are going to work, but working for nothing. working conditions are so poor. You can't also gather together and exercise freedom of association. The trade union movement is branded or is said to be terrorist. We're said to be terrorists. We're said to be enemies of the state. Just for demanding your right to strike and exercising your right to strike, that is there in the Constitution, that is there in the Labor Act, and that is respected in international conventions. You are locked up in prison. So we've been in prison. Our homes have been they've come to our homes and abducted our family members. My nephew was abducted and tortured for more than 3 hours in the bush. They've destroyed my house. At one point they came and destroyed the doors, destroyed the windows, and we are living scared. My family the members are not trade unionists, but they also carry that same burden, and it's everywhere.
You were offered a farm at one stage. You talk about corruption. So had you taken this farm and towed the line, your life would be very different.
About the farm?
Yes.
No, they are offering everyone. They are offering many people. Because what the regime is doing is it's got many strategies. One of them is propaganda. They are very strong in propaganda, and they are fighting really strong on there. The other is co-optation of the elites in various societal organizations, trade unions, and the like. So they come and offer you a farm. They tried to offer me a farm. I said, no, I don't need a farm. I'm not a farmer. They tried to offer us many things. They are offering people vehicles. They are offering people other patronage trinkets. But if you then get into it, you then have to toe the line. But could all of us lose conscience? Could all of us lose morality and do things that way? You remember, during the liberation struggle, we're fighting for freedom. We're fighting for political rights. We're fighting for these rights that they're taking away. There should be some people who should stand up and say, no, we need to ensure that we are just free. Whether I'm poor, whether I don't have a farm, whether I don't have a car, I should just be free. My kids should just be free. And they are destroying generations. They are destroying our future. They are pillaging the country's resources. We need to fight for the next generation.
Unfortunately, we're running out of time, but if you can, quickly, you're here in South Africa. If you had an audience with President Ramaphosa, what would your message be to him and to the region?
The biggest message is that the Zimbabwean crisis is a risk for all of the region. So they are letting Zimbabweans down. We cannot get a democratic transition without us in the country fighting for our rights, but without also the region also supporting us, without also people-to-people solidarity within the region also visible. Like we saw during apartheid, it wasn't won by the internal forces only, it was won by everyone. So what we are asking the region to do is we need an intervention, an immediate intervention. Zimbabwe is facing an implosion. Economically, we are getting back to 2008 hyperinflation. Socially, people are suffering. We are facing food insecurity. Many children are dropping out of school. We are dying in homes because there are no hospitals to talk about. And politically, if we don't do something and have again another disputed election, we are going to have some challenges. The ZANU-PF has heightened political violence. We are seeing a lot of political violence. So the region has to come in. SADC knows what needs to be done for us to get credible electoral processes. It is there in the report of 2018. They should just come and intervene, mediate, so that we get an electoral pact before we get to 2023. A prosperous Zimbabwe, a peaceful Zimbabwe is a peaceful SADC, it's a peaceful AU.
All right, Peter Mutasa, unfortunately we're going to have to leave it there, but thanks very much indeed for joining us on the program. Thanks for your time.
Thank you, it's been my pleasure.
All right, that's Peter Mutasa, who's chairperson of the Crisis in Zimbabwe Coalition, speaking to us about some of the challenges his country is facing at this